What is up, everybody? Coop here, and today we're going to be doing a D&D build. I know a lot of people like these builds. They give me a lot of feedback, and a lot of people really enjoy it when I talk about these games, because honestly it doesn't seem like there's that many build guides out there, or even sort of build concepts that people can build off of. So today we're going to be looking at the Hex Blade. This is sort of a offshoot of the Warlock that comes from the good old Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This is a different sort of subclass that you can go in, following a different type of patron, one with a weapon, similar to, I guess you would say, like Dark Razor or Black Razor and stuff like that. So it's a very different feel. It's a very different play style compared to your typical robes and books casting, compared to your typical sort of dexterity, like running around Pact of the Blade type Warlock. This one is very different because it changes how it works, and it does it so well. So, when diving into the good old Hexblade, it is important to first look at what exactly do you get with the Hexblade. So, the Hexblade basically has, similar to all the different Warlocks, it still has its cantrips, expanded spell list, everything. But it does get a variety of different cool features. So, the first thing is it also gets an expanded spell list of getting Shield and Rayful Smite. It's okay. It's not that good. The only one that I think is really good is the ones like around 4th and 5th level and Elemental Weapon and Blink. Those seem like pretty good spells. So, when choosing this class, I don't really suggest using the 1st and 2nd spells. They're okay. They do their job pretty well, but I think there's better options out there. Now, the first one that we're going to look at is the Hexblade's Curse. Starting at the 1st level, you gain the ability to place a baleful curse on someone. As a bonus action, you choose a target within 30 feet of you, and that target is cursed for 1 minute. Keep in mind the 1 minute cooldown, because that's definitely something to really keep in mind, that you only have 1 minute to really utilize this. So depending on how your DM sort of does turns, it's very important that you keep that in mind. Now, if the curse ends early, if the target dies, or if you die or you are incapacitated. So it does kind of require you to be up and moving. So it's not like they're permanently cursed. But until the curse ends, you gain the following bonuses. You gain a bonus damage against the cursed target equal to your proficiency bonus. So that's on top of your stuff. So say like you're proficient in martial weapons, and on top of it you're using your charisma modifier, which I'll get to that in a second. And then on top of it, you're using another sort of proficiency bonus added to that. So that makes it really nice. It makes you a really powerful hitter in general. Any attack rolls made against a cursed creature crit at 19 and 20 on the d20. That is crazy. So that's crazy to think about. Any attack roll, just 19 and 20. So you have like now a higher chance of getting it. And that's just really awesome in general for helping you out. If you had a halfling who could reroll ones and then on top of it do that, it's just, I could think of all the different combos. If the cursed target dies, you gain hit points equal to your warlock level and charisma modifier. So that's really good because it kind of steals a little bit from what made Pact of the Fiend really work well with blade locks. So having this makes it a little bit easier when trying to, fight and everything. Now it says you can't use this feature until you do a short or long rest. There are other, Eldritch invocations and things that will help you out along the way. So, let's actually get into what exactly the Hexblade does. So the Hexblade has the training necessary to be efficient to arm yourself in battle. You have proficiencies of medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. Really good. So you get all those really powerful weapons. You get get some shields, and on top of it, you get medium armor. Wah! I'm already thinking of doing a battle axe because they're versatile, so I can kind of switch between 1 and 2 hand. And then on top of it, I could have a shield, maybe pick up warcasting or something along the way, just making it to where I can cast my spells while also at the same time being in combat. So you got to keep that stuff in mind, especially when you're doing it. If you have both your hands kind of taken, you can't really do a lot of your different spells. So keep that in mind, especially when going forward. But also, because you influence your patron who allows you to be pretty powerful through your weapon, you actually use your charisma modifier. So the weapon that you are is proficient, besides if it has the 2-arm property, so we'll figure that out eventually. But when you use a weapon, you use your charisma modifier instead of strength for dexterity for your attack and damage rolls. So, there you go. This benefit lasts until long rest, and if you later gain Pact the Blade feature, the benefit extends to every Pact weapon you conjure with that feature, no matter what the weapon type is. So there we go. That pretty much explains like what happens. So basically, you have sort of this power for your particular weapon, but if you choose Pact the Blade, you can kind of make it work with every weapon. So that's very important to keep in mind. That's why we're probably going to be going Pact the Blade. Also, there's a lot of really good Eldritch sort of evocations that we can add with having Pact the Blade. So now that we know exactly what the sort of class gets right at the start, there are some other cool features which I'll dive into in a bit once we get in there. But basically, now we have like kind of our basic idea. So first thing that we have to figure out is, okay, what type of build are we going to do? Well, there's a variety of different builds we can actually do with this. So for me, what I did is I chose the whole 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8 rule. So I feel like that's really easy to balance instead of me having to do dice rolls and stuff and show you guys. So when I did that, I was like, okay, 15, definitely going in charisma. Then I thought about, okay, where do I want my other point to go? I can put a 14 in constitution and giving myself a lot more life. That's something I could do. I could put it in dexterity, make me kind of a sneaky rogue sort of warlock. I can make myself an intelligence where I'm still kind of a spellcaster, just really good at everything else. There's a variety of different things. I felt like strength though was the weakest stat, so I put an 8 there. And wisdom I didn't really see me needing, so I just kind of put a 10 there. But the rest of the stats can kind of be jumbled up how you like it. I just specifically chose it this way because I want to make it to where I'm like decent at intelligence, decent at sort of dexterity, and then eventually I can put like just 1 point into this and 1 point into that to make it a +4 modifier and +2 modifier. So very important when thinking about that. Now for races and all that, I chose the Yanti pure blood because I just thought they were really good. The ones that really work well are Tiefling because they give you that +2 charisma and then plus something else. You can also do sort of half elf and everything. Though half elf, yes, you get a lot of the proficiencies and everything. You're already kind of proficient with martial weapons, so it doesn't really make fully sense to get those proficiencies. However, it does have trance and a variety of other things that are really good. So especially if you're trying to do like an elf or sort of a half elf, it's very important that you keep in mind they have other benefits out there, so they're still not that bad of characters in general. I just chose Yanti because I kind of imagine this like serpent person with like a cursed blade with different spellcasting, poisoning its blade and everything. So this is a type of character that I would try to go out of my way to get a proficiency in a poisoning kit, and then eventually coat my weapon with poison and all that. It just really, like, it thematically made sense. So, but the reason I did the Yanti was +2 charisma modifier and +1 intelligence. It just went really well, so I was able to put like a 13 in there, and then boom, I have now a decent amount of stats. So I kind of play this character how I want in the beginning. I can kind of figure out if I'm going to be sort of doing more spellcasting stuff and like kind of being the mage of the group with my arcane checks and stuff. And so that's really important, especially when going forward. Also, they have magical resistance advantage to saving throws against them, which is super nice. Poison immunity, so like I said, I imagine this guy just coating his weapons in poison and everything out there. So like I said, you have to get that proficiency eventually later on. Also, they have dark vision, very important. I always find that dark vision is a very good thing to have. And then they have innate spellcasting where they get to cast poison spray cantrip. So that's super awesome for us. And they get to cast Animal Friendship on a limited amount of times on snakes. So once again, I could see them very much being like a poison-based character with this powerful weapon. It just felt like it really made sense for what I was going for. So, and then starting at level 3, you get Suggestion, which is always a fun spell, especially if you do it right. So let's actually dive in and look at what we would get. So the first thing that we get is Shield. It's invisible barrier magical fort that protects you. At the start of your next turn, you have a +5 AC, including against the triggering attack, and you take no damage from magical missile. So this is really good. This is basically a way to sort of block real quick to get some nice AC. It's very nice. Problem is, it's very, like, it uses one of your sort of precious spell slots, and it's not that bad, and it's pretty, I mean, it's good. It's a good spell. It gives you +5 AC. It's like, whoa. But it only lasts for 1 round, and then on top of it, it just, there's other spells that can do a little bit better. You have Armor of Agathis and everything out there that just does a little bit better of this job than this has. So, because you got to figure, Armor of Agathis actually lasts for a variety of different turns, compared to this where it's like 1 turn, okay, I'm not taking any damage. Now, I would use this typically if I saw like there was going to be a crit against me. I'd be like, oh crap, I'm going to get crit. Boom, shield, done. So, that's something to keep in mind. Wrathful Smite, it's okay. It's basically one that just adds a little bit of damage to your stuff. It takes concentration, which I never really like, but it's a decent one in general to look at. So, now, of course, you do get your Eldritch Blast and everything. I'm not really going to show the cantrips because everybody knows what cantrips you're probably going to go for. Like I said, I'm going to have Poison Spray, I'm going to have Eldritch Blast, and then maybe 2 flavored ones. There's really no reason for me to look out of my way for anything else because Eldritch Blast just does the job so well. And then I have Poison Spray to apply a different type of poison. And then I might do like a Minor Illusion just for flavor text, but honestly, with those types of things, it's just like, hey, just make sure you get your, basically your Eldritch Blast and you're good. Now, one of the things is, you start to get, sort of your Evocation. So, Agonizing Blast is a really great one because it adds your Charisma modifier to the damage. So, I roll my, let's say, my Eldritch Blast. I get already a +3. We'll say I level up and I get a +4 into that. So, I get a +4. And then I have now +6 in my roll. So let's say I roll a 16, I add the 6, I have 22. I'm definitely hitting. Now on top of that, I can add my Charisma modifier of 4 to it, dealing a crap ton more damage. So it's like, I roll, okay, I got like a, let's say a 6. Now it's actually literally a 10 damage on a cantrip. Very powerful spell right there. So that's why I chose that. It just felt really powerful, and it felt like something that I'd want in my toolkit. So I imagine myself using my weapon in one hand and spellcasting with the other, or eventually picking up Warcaster and a variety of other things, so that way I can cast while having my weapons and things, like channeling through my sword or something like that. So I keep that in mind heavily when I do this, because you're definitely going to want to pick up maybe a feat that allows you to cast while having weapons, because then you can add that extra shield and give yourself a higher AC, making you even better. So keep that all in mind when especially going forward with this. Now Blur, that's a nice ability where basically you become blurred, waving all who can see you. For the duration, any creature has a disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and the attacker is immune to the effect if it does not rely on sight, which is blind sight, or can see for illusions such as true sight. So basically, it's a way of just avoiding spells and abilities really fast, unless they can magically see through it. So that's why I said Blur is not that good, because there's actually a lot of creatures that can actually kind of potentially see through Blur. And here's the thing, in the beginning game, it's going to be great. Like, Blur is going to be a wonderful spell, and you're going to have a really good time with it. However, when you start getting to like level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, you know, people have detect magic. They can see through all the different stuff. And, you know, you might have like different creatures that don't even see how like we see life and everything. So it's very important when you do that, because Blur works with humanoid, like basic creatures and everything, but eventually you get to the part where there's the mage that can detect magic and can just smoke you with like a missile real quick. Now the next one is Branding Strike. Basically, it just adds some extra damage to your weapon, and if it becomes visible, it is invisible. So basically, you hit it, and then the weapon gleams with like radiance and everything. So it's very interesting spell. It does a decent amount of damage, but I find it okay. I don't find it that good. Alright, now we get to the actual good stuff. So all these different things are really awesome. The first one is Blink. Everybody knows this wonderful spell. You roll a d20 each turn, and it turns for the durations of the spell. If you roll 11 or higher, you vanish into a current plane of existence and appear in the inferior round. So basically, you can kind of like teleport out. At the start of your next turn, when the spell ends, if you are in the ethereal plane, you return to the unoccupied spot of your choice that you can see within 15 feet of, or 10 feet of where you vanished from. If no occupied or unoccupied space is available within range, you appear into the nearest unoccupied space chosen at random. So that's kind of interesting. But basically it allows you to sort of get away from different attacks and kind of figure out where you want to go. So I like Blink. I think Blink's a really cool ability. Just because it can get you out of the fray real quick. So say like you got like 5 or 6 orcs around you and you just cast that, boom, you're out of there. You can teleport somewhere nice and kind of figure out where you're going to do, kind of unsheath your weapon, and then maybe cast like an Eldritch Blast at a decent range that you pick. It has like a lot of good potential. Now, Elemental Weapon is the first spell I would actually say is really good for what I want. So this is the spell that I would definitely use when going through stuff. So, a non-magical weapon you touch becomes a magical weapon. You choose one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. So, like I've said, I'm already picturing my Yanti putting poison on her blade. So I could make it double the acid amount, but I would actually choose something crazy. Like, for example, I'd be like, alright, I'm going to do lightning damage, but it also has poison. So I have 2 types of damage I could put on there. So I'm already thinking of really cool ideas here, but basically it's really nice because you get to choose the type of weapon that you want for this scenario. It really sucks when you have a fire weapon and you're versing a fire dragon. It's like, oh, well, screw you, right? You're just going to be sitting in the back chilling while your parties are going to go fight on. So this gives you now opportunity to kind of figure out what type of damage can I do on these guys. Figure out some crafty different ideas. Like I said, I'm thinking like, oh, I can do poison and lightning, 2 types of damage. So if anything's immune to poison, well, it's not going to be immune to lightning. So it kind of gives you all that cool stuff. Now it has +1 to your attack rolls and deals an extra 1d4 damage of the chosen type. So that's really cool. Now what I'm looking at is when you cast it on the spell slot of 5th or 6th, you gain +2, then you gain 2d4, and when you use it on the 7th level, you gain +3 and 3d4. So like, once again, you're just upping all that damage. And the thing is, it's got a sort of duration of an hour. Now keep in mind, it does require concentration, but it's up to an hour, and that's super nice. It's just a really good spell in general, because it makes your weapon pretty much for most of the dungeon encounters and everything work. And then if you can't, you just within an hour, you're probably going to want to take a short rest anyway. Now this is the part where we get our Eldritch Invocation. That is super good, that we are actually starting to focus on the weapon. So we got Pact of the Blade, which I believe this is a requirement if I actually come in here. So yeah, it requires Pact of the Blade. So now that we have Pact of the Blade, we can get Improved Pact Weapon, which basically allows us to use any weapon we summon with the Pact of the Blade feature as the spell casting focus for the Warlock spells. So now we can cast through our weapon as sort of the focus of our spells, rather than having to do hands, or rather than having to focus on idols and things. So that's very important when especially going forward with that. So that's really cool. That's a really cool feat there. So like I said, you want to figure out different ways of doing sort of casting while having your weapon. Now keep in mind, you don't have to pick this. You can go with the tome and choose like different other stuff. This is just the way that I built it, because I felt like this is sort of, I want to be the combat rogue. In addition, your weapon gains a +1 to attack and damage rolls, unless it's a magical weapon that already has bonuses to these rolls. Finally, you can use a short bow, long bow, crossbow, and heavy crossbow. So this is basically for those guys that are like, man, I want to do range instead. So they do range instead now. And it's awesome because now you don't have to be required to just use a blade. You can use a bow too. You could be a hex bow, technically, I guess. So that's really important when going forward. So you can get a +2 to attack rolls, in addition to getting all this extra damage as well. So I think that's really awesome. Just in general, getting now with Elemental Weapon and Improved Pact Weapon, you can get a +2 to your attack rolls, in addition to already using your Charisma modifier, which we'll just say is, you got your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. By this level, yeah, you still don't have any attributes things. So we have a +7 to any roll that we do. And that's just wild. So that's crazy to look at, in addition to all the other stuff that we can do with it. So, and then obviously we have Pact of the Blade, which is really awesome because with the Hex Blade, you're kind of magically inclined to your weapon and everything. And so if you lose it, it's just like, oh man, that sucks, but you can bring it back and everything. So that's really nice to have. Also, it's great because you can pick whatever weapon you really want. However, the weapon does count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. So keep that in mind. That is very important, that it does count as magical damage. So if there's something that has sort of magical resistance or something like that, that's different. Now, this is the part where you get to choose feats. I chose Lucky just because I like Lucky. I think it's one of the best feats out there because you get to re-roll any of the rolls that you really need to. Plus, with our now like almost +7 to stuff, it's pretty important that we make sure that if we like say like we roll like a 1 or something, it's very important that we can just re-roll. We know we're gonna make it. It's not a big high risk, high reward. Now there is a lot of other good feats out there. There's Great Weapon Master. There's all types. I mean, hell, you can even go proficiency in heavy armor if you really wanted to. I wouldn't suggest it, but there's a lot of different things you could do with that, especially when looking at your different things. I just chose Lucky because that's my personal preference. There's a lot of other good feats out there. There are some in even the extended guides out here, like Xanathar's guide, that are really, really awesome, especially when trying to go forward with that. So, and then the next one that I get at level 5 is the good old Eldritch Smite. Now, this is the bread and butter of any person out there. Now, if I'm going to show you guys real quick where it's at. Here we go. So it requires you to have the Pact of the Blade feature. But once per turn, when you hit a creature with your Pact weapon, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal 1d8 damage and plus 1d8 damage per level of spell slot, and you can knock the target prone if it is huge or smaller. So huge or smaller is a big amount of people. There are even smaller dragons that you can knock down prone at level 5. That is crazy to think about. So I'm just imagining a very ranged character just shooting someone down, knocking them flat on their butt. And if I remember right, I think by this point you have like a level 2 or 3 spell slot. So that's very important, especially when going forward, because now you can add probably about 2 d8s to it, in addition to having that sort of power. So that's really crazy, especially when going forward. The fact that you can just wham somebody down. So you got to keep in mind you're doing probably 2 extra d8 damage, in addition to getting all those bonuses on an attack. Plus, let's say, at this point, yeah, we'll just say you're getting 1d4 extra on top of that. And then on top of that, anything else that you put on that weapon. So it's really powerful, especially when going forward. Now, let's actually look at some of the other things that they get at sort of higher level. I didn't want to go too deep with this because as the game kind of goes on, it's very important to kind of see how your DM plays, and then you can sort of build your character around that. So if, say, for example, combat is definitely been a little tough and you want to get a little bit more range, you can kind of build from there. But let's actually dive in and look at what happens when you hit like level 6 and stuff. Now this is where the cool stuff happens. So basically, starting at 6th level, you curse the soul of the person that you slay, temporarily binding them to your service. When you slay a humanoid, you can cause its spirit to rise as a specter. The stats and all that are in the monster manual, so we can look at that eventually. But basically, the specter appears and it gains a temporary hit point bonus equal to half your warlock level in its initiative for the specter. It has its own terms. It obeys your verbal commands, and you gain a special bonus to attack equal to your charisma modifier. So, basically, you get to raise the dead. You get to raise the dead pretty much at level 6. So you kill someone, and then you just raise up the specter, and then he has its own roll initiative and everything, and then he gains your charisma modifier. So he's probably gonna have that plus 3 or 4 that you would have. Now, the Spectre remains in your service until your next long rest, or at the point it advances to the afterlife. And once you bind your Spectre with this feature, you cannot use this feature again until you finish a long rest. So basically, you can't just like spam. It's like, hey, I get one person to help me out, and he'll do a little bit of damage, but it's still super nice. So that's really important when going forward. But this is awesome ability because it allows you to sort of tactically figure out what type of stuff you want to do. So if you're low on life, have this guy right in front of you. If you know, you kill like this cool creature and then you want to resurrect it back to life, and you can have it attack its buddy, or you can like kill a civilian and then have it become a zombie and have it running for the streets and then go kill it and then be like, I'm the savior of the town. There's all types of really fun roleplay aspects you can do with this. There's a lot of really cool things you can do. I like that scenario where it's just like you kill like a innocent civilian and then he comes back as a specter and you have run through the street and then you come over and kill him. I don't know. I just think that'd be really funny just from a sort of outsider perspective. So that's a really good ability. It's not like a wonderful ability, but you got to keep in mind we're already really powerful at this rate. There's going to be some other things that we get along the way that are going to help us out, but I just think that's a really awesome ability. Not to mention, around this level is when you start getting into magical gear and start figuring out like what type of magical gear you're going for. So you can even do other things around that to make it help you out more in the long run. So the next one is Armor of Hexes. At 10th level, your hexes grow more powerful. If the target gets cursed by your Hexblade, it hits you with an attack roll, you can roll a reaction d6, and on 4 or higher, the attack instead misses you, regardless of the roll. So basically, if I curse the main boss, and the boss goes over and tries to hit me, I roll a d6, and if it's 4 or higher, then he does no damage. Then, on top of it, say like he crits on me, and I roll a, roll a d6, and I roll a 4, I'm good. It doesn't matter. But let's say I don't roll a 4. Let's say I roll a 2, and I'm like, man, this critical's going to kill me. I use my lucky feat. I re-roll that bad boy, and then boom, I'm good. So that it's a really good ability, honestly. Like, it's just it's a really nice ability because it gets you away from an immunity of damage, and it doesn't say like after a short rest or a long rest. It's like no, it's just an ability that you have. You can just roll a d6 every time you're about to take damage, making you a really powerful character in general. Starting at 14th level, you spread your Hexblade's curse from the slain enemy to another creature. When the creature is cursed by the Hexblade dies, you can apply the curse to a different creature within 30 feet of you, provided that you are incapacitated. When you apply the curse in this way, you don't regain the health from the previous creature. So basically, instead of when you kill a creature and you get their temporary hit points, instead you just kind of channel it to another thing instead. And then basically you can kind of pick and choose, like, okay, do I want to get rid of the curse and give me some health, or do I want to make it bounce to another target? Keep in mind all the different things that it comes with is, you got that advantage to sort of your bonus rolls. So I haven't even been calculating that. I've totally forgot about that. So you'd actually technically have your charisma modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So yeah, you've been adding +5s to everything, and that's wild to think about. And then on top of it, you can do the whole 19 to 20 is equal to a crit. So that's very important, especially when going forward. So that's pretty much all of what the Hexblade has in store. Like I said, though, this is one of my favorite classes because you get to basically kind of build a really awesome character. Now, what's really cool about this, like I have to say, there is a variety of other ways you can take this. I just wanted to show you guys specifically this way. Now, you can go a little bit more intelligence-based or more dexterity-based based off of what you want to do out there. It basically allows you to kind of figure out what type of character are you going to be. Are you going to be the stealthy sort of combat person? Are you going to be the wizard who has who can fight like a warcaster and everything? Or are you just going to be a plain Hexblade with doing constitution and charisma? So keep in mind that you can do this build a little bit different. I'm just giving you guys some suggestions. Now, multi-classing, there is a variety of different multi-classing that you can do out there. The one that I always like, especially with people who have spellcasting, is to go at least 2 in Wizard, because what you can do is you can get that nice spellcasting ability to regain some of your spell slots that you already have. And then, in addition to that, if I can find it real quick... So, War Magic is one of my favorites because it allows you to add a +2 DC and +4 to your saving throw. However, it stops you from casting magic. I think that one's really good to have, and also you gain the ability to add a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your intelligence modifier. So that's something I really like. It's just a different way of doing things. But like I said, and then on top of it, you get that ability to sort of channel some of your spell slots. Now, depending on your DM's rules, some DMs don't like it, some people do. My DM typically just allows it. But that's something that you can do in the future. Also, you can go into, maybe you want to go more roguelike, or maybe you want to go more barbarian-like. The thing that's really cool is the fact that you can just kind of pick like a different class and go with it. So, the ones that I would not suggest, I don't feel like Paladin really fits well with this type of class. So if you went 2 in Paladin, it'd be really kind of counterintuitive. It's like you're working with a dark sword patron, but at the same time you're working with a sort of like praising a god. I think that's a little kind of out there, but multi-classing wise, I think it's definitely a really good class. Anyways, I hope you guys do enjoy. I basically wanted to make a D&D guide because I love, warlocks, especially in D&D. But I know a lot of people have suggested that I try it out. I wanted to give just a basic look. I didn't want to go too deep into it. We're not trying to build a max level character here. I just went up to level 6 just to kind of show you all the cool features and all the different things out there. The book is Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It is actually a legitimate book. It's not like Unearthed Arcana. This is actually kind of more of a response to Unearthed Arcana, so this is actually a legal book to use in your D&D sessions. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe. We are almost at 1K. We might even be at 1K by the time this posts. I'm not sure, but it would be very nice to get myself up to being monetized again, and also to show the love. So, anyways, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.